Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I love that intro. I really do. But really, the biggest news in the F1 world really is SK got a new chair. Yeah, that's right. I know you've been going to sleep every night kind of like, man, did he do it already? Does he still have that squeaky chair? What's going on? Well, no further worries. Let your mind not be troubled because I have fixed it. I've swapped out my chair. It took about 20 seconds. And that is that. So anyway, really, the biggest news of the day, we all know, is Bahrain testing is done and done. 2025 testing season is over with. And I kind of want to do a little bit different format than I've done in previous years. So that's kind of typical than just run down the format. These are the numbers. This is what happened. Da, da, da. I got a couple of video clips that I watched throughout the week. Just 2 or 3 of them. Nothing long, about 20 seconds to a minute long. So I'm going to roll those out and I'm going to kind of give my reactions to what's going on here and just a few other updates and kind of my thoughts and analysis on the testing and what we have going forward for the 2025 season, because that is the real thing. I mean, we're just a couple weeks away from lights out, and you already know it is going to be one of the most major seasons that we have seen in a long time. If you don't know, well, I'm telling you now, there's not a prediction. That is concrete. It's just going to be, well, knock on wood. And yeah, with that said, let's just get into it. All right, so the first video I have is from the race, and it's kind of their introduction to, everything that we learned throughout the testing. So let's just roll it.
F1 testing has finished with Mercedes' George Russell quickest on the final day and Carlos Sainz fastest for Williams overall. But what's the real picture? Forget the headline lap times. Across 3 days in Bahrain, we spent hours trackside, analysed hundreds of laps and spoke to all the teams and drivers. And this is what we learned. Red Bull is struggling. There are a few reasons why Red Bull seems on the back foot after testing.
All right, so I think maybe something that some people predicted, maybe some others that didn't, or, fandom whatever is leading them to not want to believe it. But at least from what has been seen and what some of the people in the industry think, at least in the media, and some of the analysts as well, you know what I mean, and engineers think that, Red Bull's struggling a little bit. But then again, Verstappen does his usual and kind of sets a fast pace right at the end anyway to kind of say, hey, even if the car is junk, I'm VMAX and it's just gonna happen. So I mean, I think it's good for the season. That's what I want to say, because we don't want another dominance happening. Now, McLaren obviously won the Constructors' Championship last year. So, we kind of want them to do well. We want to see Lando be able to battle out from the beginning. But we also, of course, don't want to see McLaren kind of just being the one and only. So yeah, they did kind of set the pace overall for the testing season for 2025, and it kind of looks that way. Now there's all these different variables, and I'm sure if you're watching my video, you're probably watching some others, you probably heard some podcasts and so forth. The one thing that we know from testing is nothing is certain. I mean, heck, we had a bus out in the middle of like turn 1 or wherever it was. I mean, it's just crazy. Anything is unpredictable. And heck, the weather was unpredictable. You know what I mean? So what are we potentially going to see? Maybe a Mercedes and Ferrari battle. I mean, it's very possible. Mercedes is looking like they may have something in the bag here, at least enough to kind of challenge. And if it's kind of McLaren running away from it, are we going to see Ferrari and potentially Mercedes kind of be the best of the rest right there with, with Max Verstappen kind of clipping off a win here and there and so forth? Who knows? That can kind of make it for an interesting day, because even still, if McLaren is kind of coming out on top, these other drivers are going to be right there. And then Lando still has to compete with Piastri. And I think that's one of the strongest lineups for drivers that has been around in a while, other than now we have Charles and Hamilton. So, you know what I mean? I think it's going to make it for a very interesting time. Now, One other clip, like I said, I want to roll a few of those here. So, I was listening to Sky F1's podcast, and they had some very interesting views on something similar like this. So, perfect time. You see that transition there? Let's just roll it.
I think is very exciting about the McLaren is that their upgrades for the last 2 years have been working. We've not seen much go on that car that's not worked. So I think that's exciting for the changes they make. It always worries me a little bit when teams that have totally revolutionised their car, a totally different car springs out at the first day of test. It's like, is that the right way to go or the wrong way to go? How can they be so sure in their analysis? And I think, let's see. We'll have to have a really good luck when we get to Spain, what the running order is at that point, and then how that changes going forward. Spain's a big one because it's a big aero track. So,
Will it be, Simon, that then Spain, everyone gets pegged back on their flexi front wings, and Red Bull, having played a political blinder in changing the FIA's mind to be, do you know what? We've measured it all. We think it's pretty much okay. What changed the FIA's mind over the winter to say, actually, it's not okay? And there's going to be a rear wing change for the start of the season. There's going to be a front wing change for Spain. And will that wipe out the Ferrari and the McLaren advantage of the end of last year? And Red Bull will come steaming through. One lead driver, Max Verstappen, 5th World Championship.
5th World Championship. Now, see what I'm talking about, people? This I found very interesting. Now, mind you, this video was pre-testing, all right? But I still wanted to bring it up even after what we saw. What Crofty is talking about here is still very viable, even though his analysis is prior to testing. Because what did the first video from the race say? That Red Bull was struggling. But that wing scenario, that can be something that really plays into things here. Now, last season, McLaren did have to go back and adjust things a little bit, but we saw that their pace, even from Miami on, it didn't really affect it too much. But there's a lot of things changing here. You have Ferrari with a whole new concept kind of at the last iteration of this generation. You know what I mean? And so you got Oscar and Lando battling it out for points. You can see a situation where something like this throws a monkey wrench into some of the teams. And again, what did I say from the beginning? Max, even with a junk car, we'll call it a junk car, you know what I mean? Just will throw everything out there anyway and just watch it stick dead on bullseye. So, I mean, I love this analysis, and this is the kind of thing, while I said I don't want a Red Bull dominance, but this is Formula One, people. I want to see people race. I want to live for that thrill. So no matter who I'm kind of vying for, and this year and that year, this team, I want to see good racing, and this could make something very interesting. So I love Crofty's analysis here. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think this is possible? Is it pie in the sky? What are you hoping for? All of that. And while you're there, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Now, I want to end with something, and I believe it's from Formula Today. And yes, and I just want to get into this analysis about some Ferrari, because Ferrari's been dominating the headlines. If you don't know, check out some of my other videos. But with that said, I'm just going to roll it right here, and then you'll cut back to what I think about what they have to say in just a moment. So let's do it.
Pre-season performance are not favouring Ferrari as much as we hoped for before the pre-season testing. Of course, there is still work to be done, and we can't rely solely on these results, but it's definitely a challenge that needs to be tackled as soon as possible, because the team is entering the season with a brand new car that is giving the drivers mixed feelings about what they should expect from the first race. Again, Leclerc has pinpointed the issue in the track's conditions as well, not just the car's odd performance. And when talking about it, he said, "It's a bit difficult to confirm the feelings I have for the SF25 because I don't think I've ever experienced Bahrain like this before. It was cold and rainy. These are not the temperatures we are used to. So it's difficult to make a reference compared to previous years where we had warmer conditions. In testing, you focus a lot on yourself, but obviously you also look at what the others are doing. Even if you don't know how they are going, there are still a lot of unknowns. So we have to take the times with a pinch of salt. Nevertheless, the hope hopes in the Maranello team are still high, and they have invested a lot in the new design. So it'll be interesting to see how it's going to play out in terms of the competition compared to McLaren. They are the two teams that we expect to fight it out at the front, even though statements from Mercedes are kind of creating a scenario in which Russell and Antonelli can somehow make trouble for the top teams.
Russell and Antonelli can make trouble for the top teams. So here, Formula Today are thinking that it's going to be Ferrari and McLaren kind of battling. And overall, I think I kind of hope that. I'll be honest. I try to be as honest with my own personal opinions and then also what's really going on. You know what I mean? I personally want that to happen. I want McLaren and Ferrari in a battle for the World Championship, for the Driver Championship, okay? But I also think just from what we're seeing that that's probably going to be it. I feel like Red Bull and Mercedes are going to be right underneath, kind of chipping away at the odd win here and there on a track that kind of suits them or on a good day. And then again, like we just talked about, is it possible that somewhere during the first third of the championship season, something comes up where, odd rule change, and now all of a sudden we have one of these other teams kind of making a step forward. And I think that would be super juicy. Even if I want Ferrari and McLaren to be battling the whole way through, what's wrong with having 4 teams suddenly all in the mix with 2/3 of the season to go? So I really like these videos. I thought these pieces that I showed had some pretty good significance. Now, one thing that I'll jump on very, very quickly is what Leclerc was saying. At the end of the day, testing is testing. You don't know who's sandbagging. You don't know who's trying different setups to this degree, to that degree, how these tires are working. And then on top of it all, again, bringing back up the weather, you're at Bahrain for a reason, because typically it's a great testing ground and situation. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you're like 20, 30 degrees off temps that you're expecting. It's even a little bit, some moisture out there, things that are not very typical. So at the end of the day, these videos are all just conjecture. We do have a little bit more analysis and data to back things up. So you can kind of gear, and that's just what it is. It is what it is. Every season, people, you find some people that are just like, well, that's it, written it off, and that's just go home. The season's done. We already know. And that's just really not the case. But it's a great indicator. And again, it's another step, just like the launch release of all the cars and the liveries. Now we have some testing. And again, we're just a couple weeks away from lights out. And that's what we need. Just that daily, weekly diet, adding some more in there. So there'll be some more news, I'm sure, leading up to what's going on. Will Lance Stroll end up, being sick or something, and somebody else, needing to come in again, like we've seen before? Are some of these rookies like Hajar going to be able to really cut it? Personally, I'll just leave you with this little bit. I think Hajar is going to do pretty well. The rookies have been meeting their mark overall. And so I think while some of the other rookies now have gotten 1,000 laps in and have had a couple races in, I just think that they're ready to throw down. I think from top to bottom, this season is going to be one to remember. I think the racing is going to be awesome, and I just flat out look forward to it. And then on top of it, people, next year we get a new generation. So it is just, whew. SK, calm down a little bit. Calm down. No, I don't need to calm down. It's F1. This is F1 P1 Life. If you didn't know, I'm your host, Sean Kilburn. I hope you appreciate this video. If you do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I plan to bring many more videos like this to you throughout the 2025 season and beyond. So help support me, help me bring these videos to you. And with that said, I may have about one more video coming out, maybe 2, before it's lights out. So stay tuned. See y'all next time.